Hey film class, this is Film History Part 3, and we are getting into some of the best parts of film history, and so let's dive right in. 1927 to 1947, this is considered Hollywood's golden age. This is when really important films started coming out that meant something to the community and to the culture. So it wasn't just anything and everything. 1927, important enough to remember. Why? Because we transitioned from silent movies to sound production. There's a new look and a new sound to movies. They started getting really successful. The first film ever with sound is The Jazz Singer, and that is very important for you to remember. So The Jazz Singer is the first film with sound. So you want to understand that they also started exploiting genres that were really popular. You have screwball comedies, as seen here. You have Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, one of the top 100 films. Very important drama. And you have romances. They really started looking for movies that would suit all styles. So let's talk about the cinematic style during the Hollywood's golden age. You want to understand that black and white films are the industry standard until the 1950s. It was very expensive to film in color, and therefore, unless it was a very, very big production and guaranteed to bring in a lot of money, they primarily filmed in black and white. So, one of the most spectacular of the films from this era is Gone with the Wind. As you can see here, beautiful costume design. Cinematography is beautiful. Good lighting, great acting. It was a solid film. Let's talk about the number one film of all time, Citizen Kane. Came out in 1941. You want to understand that this film revolutionized the film medium. And as you know, it is the number one film on the top 100 list. And here is a film still from that. And what it gives you is, in this shot right here, is called deep space composition. They were the first film to do this, where they had lots of depth to a shot. So as you can see, there's a woman practicing her singing. There's someone playing piano and vocal coach. And then in the distance, you can see a man watching them. You can also see how lavish the set design is. So let's talk about a couple of styles that are around the world during this time. You had French New Wave, and this that came out of French New Wave is called the Cinema Verite style. And basically this was lightweight filmmaking devices that made it look shaky, and we know this as handheld. So think of movies like Blair Witch Project or Cloverfield, that sort of stuff. So the most important film out of French New Wave is a film called Breathless, and so you'll want to write that down. Came out in 1960, very popular. And here's a film still from Breathless. So let's talk about around the world from 1947 to the present, and this is not in the United States. You want to understand that people around the world made films that modeled their culture. So in England, they pushed the boundaries with controversy, such as issues of class, race, gender, and sexual orientation. They really liked documentaries as well over there. So here's a film clip of a film from that time period from England. Denmark had their own movement. Germany really sought to create movies that freed them from the stigma of World War II. Japan really started getting violent with their films, but they also had films that embraced the culture that many Japanese love. China, very elaborate movies to come out of China post-war. And then Hong Kong. And Hong Kong was pretty cool. People liked the kung fu. And then Taiwan. And Taiwan is probably the most influential of the previous ones we've been talking about. Ang Lee has come out of Taiwan, very big name director. And it's inspired very many recent films. So think of films like The Matrix with all of their fight scenes. And so now we move to India. This is the largest film industry in the world. They produce over 1,200 films a year and even more documentaries. and they are commonly referred to as Bollywood, and I'm sure you've heard that. So one of the best films from Bollywood is a film called Slumdog Millionaire. It's rated R, so we won't be watching it in class, but I highly recommend that you rent it and watch it at home. It's a really good watch. So defining characteristics of Bollywood, they're mostly musicals, and they have song and dance numbers, and they have really bright colors and costumes. So let's talk about American cinema from 1965 to 1995. We had a really big spirit of innovation during this time period, so we had a lot more interesting movies. We started getting really structurally complex plots, new storytelling techniques. They had films about real life, as you can see here. They had violent and entertaining films, Bonnie and Clyde, as you see here. And then they started getting really big names and movie stars. As you can see here, Faye Dunaway was a really big name in the 60s. So, new American cinema style. We had more films shot on location, and they really experimented with sound design. And so here is a scene from The Wild Bunch. As you can see, it was more violent, but it had a really good sound design in it as well. And you want to understand the three different directions that New American cinema also spurred into. You had the documentaries, which got really big. So think of movies recently like Super Size Me, and the recent one that came out about SeaWorld, Blackfish. Those are both very successful. You had experimental films, and these are hybrid films that are a blend of genres, or they take on something that's commonly known. And then lastly, you have feature-length animated films. And think of films like Pixar and Disney. So here's a film still from a documentary called Grey Gardens, which is on the life of the Onassis Kennedy sisters, where they are hoarders and live in a kind of rundown, filled to the brim house. And these are the Kennedy family. So very, very rich, but lots of problems at home. And then here's a film still, or here's some examples of some hybrid and experimental films. You have Borat, which is a fake character, as you might recognize. He's the inspector from Hugo. That's Sacha Baron Cohen. So he is playing a character knowing that it's a fiction film, but he is treating it like it's a documentary with other people that don't know it's fake. Best in Show is a mockumentary, so think of TV shows like Parks and Recreation or The Office. And then Paranormal Activity, it's set up like found footage, but it's actually not found footage. It's a fake film. And then obviously animated features like Toy Story. So those are very important to the movie genre nowadays. So, and that is pretty much it. From 1947 on, we've kind of accelerated, our film industry. So it's very important that we study film history to learn to where we've gotten today. All right. I hope this was enjoyable. We are done with film history. Yay! So we will have a pocket quiz, and then we will have our unit test, and we'll be all done. All right. Have a great day.